Rubini, thank you very much for joining Sky News Arabia today. You have predicted the 2008 crisis, and I have to say that you nailed it. Today you're saying that the world is facing mega threats that will not only destroy and damage the global economy and financial assets, but also our peace and prosperity. Why?
I believe that we live in times that are of great risk, volatility, danger, and instability. Identify 10 mega threats that put at risk our incomes, our jobs, our savings, our wealth, the safety of the planet, and also these 75 years of relative peace, prosperity, and progress that could even have war among great nations in this geopolitical instability.
Let's go through those mega threats.
Well, there are 10 of them. In summary, we have the risk of inflation and recession, stagflation, the risk of debt crisis because debt ratios are very high for private and public sector. We have cycles of boom bubbles, bust and crash in financial assets. We have the risk of debasement of fiat currencies. We have the risk of deglobalization and protectionism and fragmentation of the global economy. But in addition to this economic, monetary, and financial risk, we're also facing with geopolitical risk, the tension between great powers that leading to new Cold Wars. These Cold Wars could end up with hot wars. We have social and political instability within countries, with economic malaise, with failed states, with the rise in income and wealth inequality. This is leading a backlash against liberal democracy. We have severe environmental risk, and the damage from global climate change is damaging the world today, not 20 years from now. Of course, we have health risk. We have recurrent global pandemics becoming more severe, more virulent, and more damaging. And we have also now technological risk. AI, machine learning, robotic, and automation may increase the economic pie, but they lead to more inequality, and they will lead to permanent technological unemployment. White-collar jobs, blue-collar jobs, low-value-added, medium-value-added jobs are going to be destroyed by technology. Traditional routine jobs, but now cognitive and even creative jobs are going to be threatened by technology. And all these risks are interconnected on each other and they feed on each other. And therefore, the confluence of these mega threats is putting at risk not only the world and the economy and the financial market, but even the existence of our own species.
So what kind of global recession or crisis we're heading to? Building on what you said, it's not going to be shallow and short or plain vanilla. How severe, painful, and long will it be?
Now that inflation is rising, central banks have to increase interest rates to fight inflation. But that's going to lead to a recession, rising unemployment rate, and a hard landing. And this hard landing and recession is not going to be short and shallow. In my view, it's going to be severe and protracted for many reasons. We're entering a recession by increasing interest rates rather than cutting them because inflation is rising. We have high debt ratios around the world. So as we increase interest rates, many institutions, private and public, are going to be defaulting. Almost every central bank is increasing interest rates at the same time. So this is going to be a severe recession rather than short and shallow, be inflation and recession, so stagflation. At the same time, we're going to also have a debt crisis and financial distress because they're very high debt servicing ratios.
Are you doubting the credibility of the Fed and other central banks, or you're doubting the ability of those central banks to solve the problem?
The Fed and other central banks are talking hawkish, but in my view, they're going to wimp out and they're going to blink. Because if they increase interest rates to fight inflation, not only will there be a recession, there'll be a severe recession, an economic crash, and given the existence of high levels of private and public debt, there will be also a financial crash. And the financial crash will cause a more severe recession, and the more severe recession is going to lead more financial and debt distress. So faced with an economic and a financial crash, central banks are going to prefer to ease monetary policy or not tighten enough. That's going to lead to a de-anchoring of inflation and inflation expectation. It's going to lead to a wage price spiral. It's going to lead to high inflation and recession at the same time.
If you look at the investment space now, you lose on bonds, you lose on equities, you lose even if you keep cash. What can we do to protect ourselves?
Myself and my colleagues at Atlas Capital have developed a new financial instrument that provides you a hedge against rising inflation, debasement of fiat currency, political and geopolitical instability, and also environmental damage. It's a combination of short-term treasuries of the US, but even of the GCC countries, inflation index bond. These are assets that provide you a hedge against inflation and debasement of fiat currencies. It includes also gold and other commodities that are doing well when there is inflation, when there is a financial crisis, when there is social and political instability, when there is environmental change. And finally, we have real assets like public REITs, real estate investment trusts, that tend to do well when there is a recession and when there is inflation, but you have to pick those types of commercial and residential assets that are going to be resilient to global climate change, because many of these real estate assets are going to be damaged by environmental destruction. So a combination of these assets provides a hedge against a variety of tail risks.
You said no one should trust any crypto platform exchange. If you put a single pen in any crypto exchange, even a regulated one, you are a fool. Why?
Well, we've seen what has happened recently with Celsius, with FTX, and lots of other cryptocurrencies that are not even currencies, or crypto assets that are not truly assets because they are vaporware and backed by nothing. Unfortunately, in this space, there is a lot of scams, there's a lot of criminality, there's a lot of shady behavior, and you have no idea when you invest into any platform or any exchange whether they are stable, whether they are properly regulated, what the assets are, and what are the risks are. Overnight, even one of the largest exchanges in the world, FTX, turned out to be a scam and collapse. So there is no safety in crypto assets. You have to be aware of that.
So you're saying that fiscal policy is not working, monetary policy is not working. The world is full of short-term thinking politicians. So what are the tools we have on the table to navigate through this crisis and for humanity to come out stronger?
Yes, in my book, for each one of these mega threats, I provide solutions, and then global solutions that are valid not only at the national level, but at the international level. But we need, first of all, sound leaders that are wise, like in this region, that are willing to do the sacrifice in the short run for the common good of the country, the people, over the long term. We need also a collaboration between the private sector and the public sector, each of us individually as private businesses and collectively as country. We need to work together because either we swim together or we sink together. Many of these mega threats are global: environment, health, financial stability, security, monetary stability, and the solution have to be global. They cannot be national. So we also need international cooperation among great powers and great leaders of this world.
You said that we are entering in a new era that will more closely be similar to the dark years from 1914 to 1945. Do you think the Cold War of today might turn to a hot one soon?
We don't know yet, and we hope not, but it's true that we are in a geopolitical depression where there is a number of revisionist powers, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, that are not accepting the economic, political, and geopolitical order that the US, Europe, and the West created after World War II. Unfortunately, we have a Cold War. It's becoming colder. In the case of Russia, Ukraine, we already have a hot war that could actually escalate in non-conventional ways and get involved even NATO under some extreme scenarios. And unfortunately, the Cold War between US and China is already leading to decoupling, fragmentation of the global economy, balkanization of global supply chains, and deglobalization. We do hope that the tensions between US and China are not going to lead to a hot war, but it requires a lot of leadership and cooperation on what we share in common as opposed to what we divide us. The alternative will be, of course, disastrous.
Are we heading to a new world order, sir?
We need to design this new world order together, collectively. No country alone can do it. It has to be an order based on a more stable economic and financial and monetary system where growth is stable, growth is inclusive, growth is sustainable, and where you have international cooperation for dealing together with the global economic, financial, monetary, social, environmental, health, and technological risks that we're facing together.
Thank you very much.